Your salary is not a reward for your hard work. It is a calculated psychological bribe to buy your silence. It is the exact amount an institution pays you to forget your own dreams and build theirs instead. Welcome back to the FinRadius USA, where we decode the invisible psychological engineering that governs your wealth. Today, we dissect the neurological trap of the 9-to-5 and expose why your primitive brain is biologically programmed to keep you working until you die. Let's begin with the primary biological weapon of corporate retention: intermittent dopamine dosing. For 200,000 years, human survival relied on immediate, unpredictable hunting rewards. Modern corporate architects hijacked this neural wiring by introducing the biweekly salary. Every 14 days, a small digital deposit hits your checking account, triggering a brief surge of relief and safety. This artificial predictability lowers your perception of risk while completely paralyzing your drive to create self-owned assets. Behavioral neuroscientists categorize this process as conditioned resource dependency. When your brain relies on a single external source for survival inputs, any alternative path feels like an existential threat. You become addicted to the certainty of the drip, ignoring the fact that inflation destroys its purchasing power annually. Julian breaks down the second psychological obstacle, the loss aversion asymmetry. Behavioral economics proves that the pain of losing $1 is emotionally twice as intense as the joy of gaining one. When you consider quitting your job to build equity, your brain instantly calculates the immediate loss of your salary. It completely ignores the catastrophic long-term loss, spending 40 prime years trading your life for paper claims. Here on the FinRadius USA, we call this the single-point security fallacy. You believe your corporate job is safe, even though a single executive email can terminate your income overnight. Depending on one employer for 100% of your baseline survival is the highest risk posture in finance. Yet, because the catastrophe hasn't happened today, your mind deceives you into feeling secure. The third mechanism keeping you bound to the desk is ego depletion and decision exhaustion. After 8 hours of managing corporate microtasks, your prefrontal cortex exhausts its daily decision-making capacity. When you return home at 7 p.m., your brain lacks the neurological bandwidth to build secondary assets. You default to low-energy consumption, ordering fast food, watching streaming feeds, and scrolling social media. This cognitive fatigue is not an unintended side effect. It is a structural feature of corporate design. An exhausted employee never has the mental energy required to engineer an exit strategy. The fourth biological trap is Parkinson's law of lifestyle expansion. Parkinson's law dictates that your personal spending automatically expands to consume all available income. When you receive a corporate promotion, your brain demands instant status validation through updated consumption. You lease a newer vehicle, rent a larger apartment, and increase your monthly recurring liabilities. Your higher corporate salary is instantly absorbed by elevated baseline expenses. You become a higher paid employee, but your net capital surplus remains exactly zero. The analysts at the FinRadius USA define this cycle as the golden treadmill. You trade more hours for higher pay, only to increase your liabilities, forcing you to keep trading even more hours. Dr. Evelyn Vance breaks down the social neuroscience of status signaling within corporate hierarchies. Human brains evolved in small tribes where lower social standing meant abandonment and physical death. In modern corporate environments, you buy luxury items to visually signal competence to your peers. You sacrifice long-term financial sovereignty for short-term visual prestige. You impress coworkers at the office while remaining entirely dependent on next month's check to pay your mortgage. The fifth psychological hurdle is sunk cost fallacy in career identity. When you spend years earning a specialized degree, your ego merges directly with your job title. Admitting that the 9-to-5 structure is mathematically flawed feels like admitting your past effort was a total waste. Your mind protects your self-esteem by defending the very corporate machine that keeps you trapped. You persuade yourself that working 40 years for a corporate pension or retirement match is the only path. Meanwhile, currency debasement and central bank expansion quietly erode the future value of that pension. Dr. Evelyn cross-references inflation-adjusted retirement returns against true purchasing power decay. The empirical data proves that traditional retirement plans leave workers with half the buying power they expected. The modern 9-to-5 system was designed during the Industrial Revolution to produce compliant factory operators. It was never intended to build independent, financially sovereign asset allocators. But once you decode the psychological programming driving this trap, you can execute a total system override. You can transition from a cognitive system subject into a self-sovereign wealth strategist. Julian presents the exact cognitive rewiring protocol developed by the FinRadius USA research team. Step 1. Reframe your corporate job as a venture capital funding source for your asset engine. Stop viewing your salary as personal income. Treat it as gross revenue for your private investment firm. Stop asking, what consumer goods can I buy? And start asking, what yield-bearing asset can I acquire? Step 2. Enforce an immediate, non-negotiable cap on your living expenses. When you receive a raise, bonus, or tax refund, route 100% of that surplus directly into hard assets. Defeat Parkinson's law by keeping your baseline lifestyle fixed while your asset production grows. Dr. Evelyn Vance highlights the compounding math of fixed cost discipline over a 36-month execution cycle. Capping fixed costs doubles your capital accumulation velocity in less than 3 years. Step 3. Eliminate decision fatigue by fully automating your allocation architecture. Do not rely on evening willpower after an exhausting workday to make investment decisions. Program your primary banknote to transfer 50% of your net surplus into hard assets within 24 hours of deposit. Julian verifies his automated transfer protocols, ensuring zero emotional friction in the execution chain. Automation deletes psychological hesitation, building your capital shield systematically every month. Now let's examine the 4 hard asset pillars engineered by the FinRadius USA. Pillar 1, monetary gold for absolute liquidity without counterparty risk. Physical gold provides an undebasable reserve baseline that cannot be diluted by central bank currency creation. Sovereign central banks have accumulated physical gold at historical record paces over recent years. The institutions running the monetary system are quietly insulating their own balance sheets with physical reserves. Pillar 2, digital scarcity via Bitcoin and decentralized protocol networks. Bitcoin provides a mathematically capped asset protocol with an absolute limit of 21 million units. While central banks expand paper money supplies, digital scarcity remains fixed by unalterable mathematics. Julian verifies his cold storage hardware key, confirming non-custodial custody over his digital reserves. Self-custody guarantees direct asset ownership independent of commercial banking clearance channels. Pillar 3, broad market equity ownership in productive corporate infrastructure. Companies with pricing power raise prices to offset inflation, protecting earnings and equity value. Total market index allocations allow your capital to capture global corporate revenue expansion automatically. As nominal prices rise across the economy, corporate revenues and asset valuations scale proportionally. Pillar 4, critical commodities and essential natural resources. Energy, industrial metals, and agricultural real estate represent physical necessity that cannot be printed. Commodities reprice rapidly during debasement cycles, serving as a direct hedge against rising cost of living. Julian structures his capital across all 4 pillars to achieve complete portfolio resilience. Diversifying across gold, digital scarcity, equities, and commodities minimizes dependence on corporate wages. Step 4 of the FinRadius USA framework, constructing the asymmetric parallel runway. Use your corporate salary to fund a high-leverage digital business, skill stack, or cash-flowing media asset. Dedicate 2 focused hours every morning before your day job to build assets that you own entirely. This creates an asymmetric payoff where your downside is capped while your potential upside is infinite. When your side asset cash flow equals 50% of your job salary, the psychological grip of the 9-to-5 breaks forever. You realize you no longer depend on corporate employment to survive. You now hold real economic leverage. Dr. Evelyn Vance backtests this parallel asset strategy against standard single-career trajectories. The data confirms that parallel asset builders achieve financial independence 9 times faster than corporate savers. Step 5. Audit your balance sheet and eliminate high-interest consumer debt liabilities immediately. High-interest consumer debt is engineered by financial institutions to drain your investment margin continuously. Pay off consumer debt rapidly to reclaim your cash flow and deploy it straight into hard assets. Julian consolidates his balance sheet, wiping out variable liabilities and securing pristine capital reserves. His capital architecture is now completely insulated against corporate dependency. Escaping the 9-to-5 requires a radical shift in how you define financial success. Success is not measured by your corporate title or the brand of vehicle you park in the office garage. Success is measured strictly by the number of days your asset cash flow can support your lifestyle without you working. True wealth is complete sovereign control over your time, your focus, and your daily life. When your assets cover your baseline living costs, work becomes a voluntary choice rather than a struggle for survival. You step outside the corporate fear loop and reclaim your human autonomy. The system relies on you remaining unaware of these psychological mechanics. But once you understand the code, you can never return to passive compliance. Here is the final execution checklist from the team at the FinRadius USA. Checkpoint 1. Reframe your job title as an external venture funding source tonight. Checkpoint 2. Enforce a strict cap on living expenses and freeze fixed liabilities. Checkpoint 3. Automate 50% of your capital surplus directly into the 4 hard asset pillars. Checkpoint 4. Dedicate 2 hours every morning to building an asymmetric side asset. Checkpoint 5. Eliminate all variable high-interest consumer debt permanently. Stop donating your cognitive energy and finite years to institutions that view you as an interchangeable line item. Audit your cognitive focus and capital system starting tonight. Reclaim your labor value, build your asset shield, and step onto the path of true financial sovereignty. If this breakdown provided actionable clarity, share it with someone who is still trapped on the corporate treadmill. Subscribe to the FinRadius USA to join our community of sovereign allocators taking back control. Math erodes institutional illusions. Stay disciplined, stay insulated. We will see you in the next decoding breakdown.